Picture this. The year is 655 CE. You're standing in the inner chambers of the Tang Dynasty Imperial Palace. The air smells of incense and something metallic you can't quite place. A woman holds her newborn daughter. She's not crying, she's not smiling, she's calculating. Her name is Wu Zetian. In 15 years she'll become the only woman to ever rule China as emperor in her own right. But today, she's still a concubine, still clawing her way to power, and the baby in her arms has approximately 4 more hours to live. This isn't speculation. This is documented in the New Book of Tang and the Old Book of Tang. Chinese historians spent centuries trying to understand what happened in that chamber. The archaeological evidence discovered in the 1950s confirmed their worst suspicions. Here's what makes this story especially disturbing. Wu Zetian didn't just kill her daughter. She weaponized her, turned her infant's death into the most effective political assassination in Chinese history, all while making sure no one could prove she did it. Think about what that requires psychologically. The precision, the patience, the complete separation between motherhood and ambition. If you believe that the documented records of history's most terrifying figures must be remembered, consider liking this video and subscribing. Your support unearths more accounts from the darkest corners of the human story. Let me show you how she did it. Act 1. The princess who never had a chance. Wu Zetian was not born into power. She entered the palace at 14 as a low-ranking concubine to Emperor Taizong. For 12 years she watched, learned, absorbed every lesson about court politics. When Taizong died in 649, she was supposed to be sent to a Buddhist convent. That was the law. Former concubines of a dead emperor couldn't remain in the palace. But Wu had cultivated something dangerous during those 12 years. A relationship with Taizong's son, the crown prince, the man who would become Emperor Gaozong. Within months of Taizong's death, Gaozong violated tradition and brought Wu back to the palace. Not as a concubine, but as a consort. The palace was scandalized. Bringing back your father's concubine violated the most sacred taboos. Wu didn't care. She was back inside the machine. But there was a problem. Emperor Gaozong already had an empress, Empress Wang. And Wang had the support of the most powerful faction at court, led by the Chancellor Zhangsun Wuji. These were men who had helped Taizong build the greatest dynasty China had seen in centuries. They would never accept Wu Zetian as empress. So Wu needed something that would destroy Wang's credibility completely. Something so shocking that even her most powerful supporters would have to abandon her. She needed Empress Wang to be accused of murdering an innocent. Here's where the story gets chilling. In 654, Wu Zetian became pregnant. She gave birth to a daughter in early 655. The baby was healthy, normal, unremarkable by all accounts. Contemporary sources record that Empress Wang visited Wu's chambers shortly after the birth. This was normal, expected even. The empress showing respect to a new mother, maintaining harmony in the inner palace. Wang spent perhaps 20 minutes with Wu and the baby. Then she left. Servants saw her exit. Multiple witnesses documented her visit. Everything seemed routine. Less than an hour later, someone discovered the baby dead, strangled. According to the New Book of Tang, Wu Zetian's screams brought servants running. She was found holding her daughter's body, hysterical, accusing Empress Wang of murder. Think about the psychology of this moment. Wu, holding the child she had just killed, using her own maternal grief as a weapon. The servants who rushed in saw what they expected to see, a devastated mother. They had no reason to suspect her. Emperor Gaozong arrived within minutes. Historical records preserve his reaction. He was shattered. The chronicles describe him weeping, demanding to know who had done this. Wu, still holding the baby, told him through tears that Empress Wang had been alone with the child. Just Empress Wang. The implication was clear. Now here's what makes this especially sinister. Wang had a motive, or at least, one that could be constructed. She was childless. Wu had already given Gaozong 2 sons. If Wu produced daughters as well, it demonstrated her fertility even further. Wang's position was increasingly precarious. A jealous, desperate empress, driven to murder an innocent child. That's the story that spread through the palace. But there was no proof. Wang denied everything. Her supporters in the court, led by Chancellor Zhang Sunwuji, argued that the accusation was absurd. Wang had been in those chambers for less than 30 minutes. The baby had been alive when she left. How could she have done it? This is where Wu demonstrated true genius. She didn't push for immediate punishment. She didn't demand Wang's execution. Instead, she let the story circulate. Let the doubt poison the well. Let Gaozong's grief and suspicion do the work. According to the Ziji Tongjian, a comprehensive chronicle of Chinese history compiled in the 11th century, Wu spent months in mourning, highly visible mourning. She held Buddhist ceremonies for her dead daughter. She commissioned prayers. She made sure everyone saw her devastation, all while quietly building a coalition against Empress Wang. By late 655, Gaozong's mind was made up. He stripped Wang of her title. He removed Zhang Sunwuji from power. He installed Wu Zetian as empress. The baby's death had accomplished exactly what it was designed to accomplish. Wu Zetian was now the most powerful woman in China, and she was just getting started with her children. Act 2. The son who knew too much. Wu Zetian gave Emperor Gaozong 4 sons who survived to adulthood. Crown Prince Li Hong, Prince Li Xian, Prince Li She, Prince Li Dan. These were the heirs to the Tang dynasty, sons of the emperor, future rulers of the largest empire on earth. They should have been untouchable. But here's what you need to understand about Wu Zetian's psychology. She didn't see her sons as heirs. She saw them as obstacles. Every male heir was a potential threat to her power. Because the moment Gaozong died, one of them would become emperor, and she would become dowager empress, respected but powerless. That was unacceptable. So she began a systematic process of neutralizing her own sons. Li Hong, the crown prince, was the first. Historical sources describe him as remarkably capable, intelligent, well-educated, popular with officials. The comprehensive mirror, in aid of governance records, that by his early 20s, Li Hong was already participating in state decisions. He showed genuine talent for governance. That made him dangerous. In 675, when Li Hong was 23 years old, he made a fatal mistake. He advocated for the release of 2 of his half-sisters from internal exile. These were daughters of the former Empress Wang, the woman Wu had destroyed. They had been kept in seclusion since their mother's fall from power. Li Hong argued it was cruel to keep them imprisoned. They had done nothing wrong. They deserved to be allowed to marry, to have lives. It was a compassionate position. It was also a direct challenge to Wu's authority. According to the new Book of Tang, Li Hong died suddenly 3 days later. The official cause was given as illness, a sudden fever. These things happened. But the timing was remarkable. Modern analysis of the historical sources, including work by Chinese historians in the 1980s, suggests Li Hong was likely poisoned. The symptoms described in contemporary accounts align with several fast-acting plant-based poisons available in Tang, China. Wu Zetian attended his funeral. She performed all the appropriate rituals of a grieving mother. She commissioned a magnificent tomb. Then she made sure the next crown prince understood the lesson. Li Xian, her second son, became heir. Now think about what this does psychologically. You're a prince. You just watched your older brother die under suspicious circumstances right after challenging your mother. You know she killed the baby daughter to frame Empress Wang. The whole court knows, even if no one can say it out loud. What do? Li Xian tried to survive by being useful. The old Book of Tang records that he served as regent when Gaozong was ill. He performed his duties competently. He stayed away from anything that might be seen as challenging Wu. It didn't matter. By 680, Wu had decided he was too competent, too popular, too much of a potential rallying point for officials who resented her growing power. She needed him gone. Here's what makes this especially calculated. Wu didn't kill Li Xian directly. That would have been too obvious. 2 crown princes dead in 5 years. Instead, she destroyed him politically. In 680, officials loyal to Wu discovered weapons and armor hidden in Li Xian's residence. They also found treasonous writings, documents that allegedly showed Li Xian was planning a coup. The evidence was almost certainly planted. Li Xian was arrested, stripped of his title, and exiled to the provinces. The Ziji Tongjian records that he was placed under house arrest in what was effectively a prison. Guards monitored him constantly. He was forbidden from having visitors without permission. He lived like this for 4 years. Then, in 684, he was found dead in his chambers. The official record states suicide. He allegedly strangled himself, but the circumstances are suspicious. Li Xian had been visited by Wu's officials just days before. After Gaozong's death, Wu had begun consolidating absolute power. Li Xian, even in exile, represented a potential threat. So he died? Wu's third son, Li Zhe, became emperor after Gaozong's death in 683. But he made the mistake of trying to appoint his wife's father to a high position without consulting Wu. She deposed him after 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Her fourth son, Li Dan, was more pliable. Wu installed him as a puppet emperor while she ruled as dowager empress. But even that wasn't enough. In 690, Wu took the final step. She forced Li Dan to abdicate. She declared herself emperor, not empress dowager, not regent, emperor. The only woman in Chinese history to hold that title in her own right. She created a new dynasty, called it the Zhao dynasty, erased the Tang temporarily from official records. Her sons had served their purpose. Now, they were irrelevant. Act 3. The system of control. Here's what nobody talks about. Wu Zetian ruled China for 15 years as emperor, from 690 to 705, and by almost all historical measures, she was effective. She expanded the bureaucracy to reduce aristocratic power. She promoted officials based on merit rather than birth. She commissioned Buddhist art and temples. She maintained the empire's borders. The economy was stable. There were no major rebellions. On paper, she was a successful ruler, but the cost was extraordinary. Tang dynasty sources, compiled after Wu's fall, document a reign sustained by terror. She created a network of secret police. Officials were encouraged to inform on each other. Accusations of treason could be made anonymously. Thousands were arrested, tortured, executed. One of her most loyal enforcers was an official named Lai Yunshan. The comprehensive mirror records that Lai developed specific torture devices designed to extract confessions. He kept detailed manuals on interrogation techniques. Wu promoted him repeatedly. Because, here's the thing about systematic cruelty, it works. Fear is an effective tool of governance. Wu understood that if officials were more afraid of her than they were loyal to her sons, she could rule indefinitely. And for 15 years she did. But she couldn't stop time. By 705, Wu was 80 years old. She was ill, possibly suffering from a series of strokes. Officials who had been waiting for this moment made their move. They staged a coup, forced Wu to abdicate, restored her third son, Li Shi, to the throne as Emperor Zhongzong. Wu died less than a year later, in December 705. Her tomb is located in Qianling, alongside Emperor Gaozong. It's one of the few Tang Dynasty imperial tombs that has never been excavated. Chinese authorities have decided to leave it sealed until preservation technology improves. What's buried there remains unknown. But here's what haunts historians. Wu Zetian left behind a massive stone monument at her tomb. It's called the Wordless Stele. Unlike every other imperial monument in Chinese history, it contains no inscription, no list of accomplishments, no epitaph, just blank stone. There are theories about why. Some scholars think Wu intended for future generations to inscribe her deeds. Others believe she wanted her actions to speak for themselves. But there's another interpretation. Maybe she knew that no words could capture what she had done. The baby daughter strangled to frame an empress. The crown prince likely poisoned for showing compassion. The second son destroyed and driven to suicide. The two others reduced to puppets, all to become emperor. The first line of the old Book of Tang's section on Wu Zetian reads, "She was ruthless and lacking in humanity." That might be the most restrained description in all of Chinese historiography. Act 4. The question that remains modern Chinese scholarship has spent decades trying to understand Wu Zetian. Was she a feminist icon who broke through impossible barriers in a patriarchal system? Or was she a monster who murdered her own child to seize power? The answer's probably both. And that's what makes this story so disturbing. Because Wu Zetian demonstrates what happens when someone is willing to sacrifice literally everything for power, including the most fundamental bonds of human relationship. She killed her daughter. She destroyed her sons. She built a police state. She ruled through terror. And she was effective. China didn't collapse during her reign. In fact, by some measures, it prospered. The bureaucratic reforms she implemented lasted for centuries. Some of the officials she promoted went on to distinguished careers. The machine kept running, but think about the human cost. The baby who died at a few months old, strangled by the woman who gave birth to her. The crown prince poisoned for advocating compassion. The second son driven to suicide in exile. The two others reduced to figureheads. None of them ever had a chance. Wu made sure of that. Here's what the archaeological evidence reveals. In the 1960s, Chinese archaeologists excavated the tomb of Crown Prince Li Hong. What they found was remarkable. The tomb was massive, built to imperial specifications. Filled with treasures and artwork, Wu had given her son a prince's burial, but the tomb inscriptions are fascinating. They praise Li Hong's virtues, his intelligence, his compassion, his capability, all the qualities that got him killed. It's possible Wu genuinely mourned him, that she felt some form of maternal grief, even as she had him poisoned. Human psychology is complex enough to contain that contradiction. Or maybe the tomb was just another performance, another way to maintain the fiction of her legitimacy. We'll never know for certain. What we do know is this. Wu Zetian's daughter died in 655. She was a few months old. Her name is not recorded in any historical source. She exists only as a political tool, a means to an end. That's her entire legacy. A baby whose death secured an empire. Think about that the next time someone tells you that maternal love is the most powerful force in human nature. Wu Zetian proved that power can override anything, even the bond between mother and child. The wordless tale still stands at Qianling, silent stone that has watched 14 centuries pass. Maybe it's appropriate that it has no words. Some acts are beyond language. If this exposed something about the nature of power that you've never confronted before, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're going to keep uncovering the history they tried to erase. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next investigation. The stone remembers, even when we don't.